Hey guys, what's up? It's That Madden Gamer here, or TMG, back at it again with another episode of the Under Center Podcast. Today is the Under Center Podcast, episode number 24. 25 will be my reactions to the Detroit Lions mock draft. I'll probably do a first round grades video, podcast, as well as a Lions grading podcast as well. Maybe I'll do it all in the same one. I'll probably do it two separate ones though. The Lions will definitely come first. I'll have some opinions on who they take for sure. Hopefully they're all positive, but we'll see about that. Today is simple. We're talking about Lions news and rumors, and we're going to talk about and ending the video, or the podcast I should say, with I don't want to say big board, but I'd say a target priority list for Lions. Let's just call it a big board, okay? So, the biggest rumor I'd like to talk about is trading back from 7. A lot of rumors come about trading back from 7. A lot of highly regarded scouts and analysts have predicted them trading back from 7 with the Patriots, the football team, a couple different other teams there. Patriots have been the biggest team I've seen. If in doing that, I'd say the going rate would probably be swapping first-round picks this year, a second-round pick, and then maybe another first. And if that was to ever happen, I would be extremely okay with doing that, especially if you could stay in the first round this year. I'd be completely fine with that. If you could trade back with a team like New England and pick up, like, a second rounder this year and, like, even if it's, like, a second next year, whatever. I mean, I'd be completely fine with that. If you get a first-round pick out of somebody, if you get, like, a first-round pick next year and then maybe, like, a third-round pick this year or something like that, dude, I would be completely fine with that. Depends on what the going rate is for the pick. I'm going to guess if it's trading up for a QB at 8 or not 8, 7. I'm guessing that going rate's going to be a little higher because it's going to be for a quarterback. But if you're Detroit, you're in a great position, though, because you could take a quarterback, and you can definitely leverage teams into trading up with you, because if a guy like Justin Fields or Trey Lance is sitting there at 7, what's going to stop you from taking him? Honestly, I wouldn't take Trey Lance. I'd take Justin Fields. There's a bunch of stuff coming out about him dealing with some sort of mild form of epilepsy, which I'm not 100% educated in, so I'm not going to talk about too much. But what I've seen about it was, like, it was a mild thing. It's like he's been growing out of it. He hasn't really had any significant issues with it in college as long as he's properly medicated. I don't think it's a huge deal, honestly. There's been NFL players who have played through similar conditions to what I've seen. So I'm not going to talk too much about it. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not educated. I couldn't tell if it's a big deal or not, honestly. I'm going to look up and do some more research before I talk about that. But, I mean, if a guy like Justin Fields is sitting there at 7 and you were Detroit, in my last 7-round mock draft, I had Detroit taking him because I think Justin Fields is a true stud of a quarterback. I like Justin Fields a lot. His evaluation process was tough for me. Honestly, at the beginning of the draft process, I like Trey Lance better than Justin Fields. But I'm also a Michigan fan, so I'm kind of biased against Ohio State. After that Clemson game, he really won me over, man. I watched a lot of film on him after that. And I've watched a lot of his games being a Big Ten fan, you know. So I like Justin Fields. But a guy I've gotten progressively less, like, up on is Trey Lance, for sure. I mean, ball placement issues, solid mechanics, cannon of an arm, very good athlete, good decision maker. Playing at the FCS level and having the ball placement issues that he did at the FCS level really concerned me because he had a clean pocket a lot of the time. He's playing against significantly worse players a lot of the time. I used to use an FCS player because he played against FCS defense, he had FCS weapons, whatever. I get it. He's significantly better than everyone he's playing against. He's a man amongst boys there for sure. Great college player, whatever. Translating it to pros, he's a guy who's definitely interested for years too. I think Justin Fields will too, but I think Justin Fields will be more pro-ready than Trey Lance, just because of the fact that Trey Lance didn't play the competition Justin Fields did. Justin Fields showed up in the biggest games, in the biggest moments, and made the biggest plays. Obviously, in the championship game, they like to see a little bit more, but he didn't play a bad game at all. Alabama, obviously, is a far better team than Ohio State. I mean, what are you going to say? It's Bama versus Ohio State. Ohio State's a really good Big Ten school, a good college for sure. But you could just see the difference in skill and the difference in athleticism from Bama. Bama was just a far better team. It is what it is, man. Mac Jones is not a better quarterback than Justin Fields, but I mean he definitely looked better because he had weapons like Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, John Mechie, Najee Harris. I mean it's different, man. It's a different team. It's playing in the SEC. That's why I have a hard time when people dogging on these like teams like Texas A&M. These guys play a very tough, like, almost like an NFL caliber team every single week. With the exceptions of, like, you know, a Vanderbilt or a, Kentucky, right? I mean, but still, I mean, you look at, like, the SEC, you got Florida, Georgia, Auburn, Bama, LSU. I know I'm forgetting teams. You know, I mean, A&M, you got, who else you got in the SEC? It's really good. Tennessee's a solid team most of the time. I mean, you got like 7 or 8 really good teams that if they were in other conferences would be like probably contending for conference championships every single year, but they play in the SEC, so they get kind of diluted. A team like, I'd say a good example probably is a school like Tennessee. They don't look great, playing the SEC, but if they were in a conference like the ACC, maybe they would be more competitive. Maybe that's kind of a bad example because Tennessee isn't great as of late, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, a team like a Georgia this year. In the ACC, I'm not so sure they're like right next to Clemson in that ACC race. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to judge, one game. Justin Fields played great. Whatever. I'm sorry. I'm getting on a tangent about Justin Fields. I've just watched a lot of film on him, and I've been very conflicted about making Lions pick quarterback. But that is the biggest rumor. Biggest rumor is a team like New England or a football team comes up to take a quarterback. Lions trade down from 7. Lions are very comfortable trading down. In both up and down with their options. This is the Detroit news. I don't really know if you take that seriously or not, though. But the biggest rumors have been talking about how the Lions are really interested in trading down. I don't think trading up is very much of an option. You have the draft capital to, I guess, but I don't see who you trade up for. So I'm gonna get right into this right now, guys. I'm gonna talk about my top needs for the Lions in this coming draft here. So let's get right into it. Who should the Lions take at pick 7? I think the needs have to go in the order like this. Playmaker. I see playmaker because I could include Kyle Pitts. So a receiver, a playmaker. So like a Jalen Waddle. I know I made a video, a whole entire podcast talking about Jalen Waddle. I didn't want him at pick 7. People are gonna dog me for coming back and saying this. Jalen Waddle's a good player. Okay, it was a good podcast. I had supported evidence at the time. The more I watch Jalen Waddle, I think he's gonna be a great player. Don't dog me now for changing my opinions. I'm not completely changing my opinions. I would not love the pick at 7. Cause I think he's a guy who belongs more right outside the top 10, like a 11, 12, more of that kind of pick. But he's a good player. If we got him at 7, I really couldn't complain, right? He's hopefully an instant playmaker. We'll see what happens. Very limited outside film on him, but a lot of in the slot, and he's consistently dominant in the slot at the college level. We'll see. But a playmaker would be a Jalen Waddle, a Jamar Chase, a Kyle Pitts, right? Those are 3 dudes as I consider playmakers that you'd take. I guess Justin Fields could be considered a playmaker, but playmakers number 1 need in my opinion. Number 2 need would be a linebacker. So Micah Parsons, if he was there, he's gonna be there, I'm guessing. But it just depends on how high you are on him. I like Micah Parsons. I had him going at 7 for a long time, but the more and more I see of him, I think that he's more of an outside linebacker. I think his value falls more outside the top 10 because you really don't take an outside linebacker in the top 7. So I'd say playmaker, linebacker, offensive line. I know that sounds crazy, but offensive line. Just because of the fact that I think Hal Vaitai is going to be an iffy player next year. Frank Ragnall's coming up in a contract. You cut Joe Dahl. I'm trying to think who your starters are. You have cemented, you have left tackle, you got Taylor Decker. Center, you got Frank Ragnow. Left guard, you got Jonah Jackson. Right guard, you got nobody. Maybe Hal Vaitai. Right tackle, you probably have Vaitai at guard, say Crosby at right tackle. If you took a Penei Sewell, I don't know how you say his name exactly, Penei Sewell maybe, or a Rashawn Slater, those guys could both play tackle or guard. Both guys can play either side at tackle. Both guys probably play either side at guard. And even Rashawn Slater can play some center. So versatile offensive lineman would be my number 3 need. I'd say playmaker, linebacker, versatile offensive lineman, one of those 2 guys. Then you get into your quarterback is definitely a need. It depends on how Goff plays, I guess, but I'd say it's a need. You get into your edge player maybe, corner, safety, then you probably a defensive tackle. Maybe you swap defensive tackle and edge. But anyway, I'm not going to drag this out anymore. About 9 minutes in here. I'll keep you short and sweet here. I'm talking about my top targets for the Lions. This is not necessarily in a certain order. It's just how I would be looking at this. These are just more like, I don't know how you say this. It's not like an order of who I think they should take. It's an order of just pure value, I'd say, in my opinion. So, round 1 targets at pick 7, I'd say Kyle Pitts is the number 1 guy, because if he was there at 7, that's a very good value pick. I'd take him. Jamar Chase, same deal. At 7, a very good value pick. So Pitts and Chase both fall in the category of I don't really know if they're both on the board. Obviously, I'd take Pitts, because I think he's a more versatile player. I think Chase will be a better receiver, but I think Pitts could be definitely a playmaker from tight end standpoint, receiver standpoint, just kind of a freaky playmaker, pair with Hawkinson. But yeah, I'd say Pitts, Chase, Sewell, then Slater, then Parsons, then Waddle, then Fields, then Patrick Surtain, rounding out my list. Because I think Patrick Surtain could be a very good corner. Kind of reminds me of Jeff Okudah. I guess isn't a great thing for Lions fans right now, but he played in the SEC. I like Patrick Surtain a lot. So I think the most realistic picks there would be a Jamar. I think Pitts will be gone by 4 or 5. And if he's not, the Dolphins take him at 6. I think your most realistic picks there would be Jamar, Chase, Sewell, or Slater. Probably the 3 guys I'd say would be the most realistic. You can make an argument for Parsons or Waddle, but I'd say that was probably more like a trade back target. You know, if you're going to trade back to like 15, Parsons would probably be a great pick there. Surtain would probably be gone. Fields probably be gone. But I'd say a realistic pick 7 targets would be probably a Jamar Chase, a Penei Sewell, and a Rashawn Slater. I almost said Marshawn Slater, I don't know why. Rashawn Slater. And then, like I said, you got Micah Parsons, Jalen Waddle. 2 guys, if you got them, you wouldn't be able to complain as a Lions fan because they're both good players. But I don't really know if they're a top 7 pick or not in this draft. Justin Fields falls in that same category, I guess. If you got him at 7, he's a great value pick. But more of a guy where it's like it's a secondary need. It's not one of those top needs. Pitts and Chase, great playmakers. Sewell and Slater, great versatile offensive lineman. Parsons is a linebacker. So that's how I feel about it. I think this year it's going to be kind of tough because there's so many different directions they could go with the draft. You can trade up. You know, you're not really trade up, but I'd say trade down, definitely an option. You could go with a guy who's a more of a day one playmaker, with like a Pitts or Chase. If you're building for the future, you take a Justin Fields. If you're looking for an offensive lineman, it just depends on how the Lions feel about their QB room. It depends on how the Lions feel about their receiver room. And it really just depends on how the Lions feel because you can really go in a multitude of different directions here and not be able to complain. If Sewell's on the board there, but so is Chase, and you take Chase over Sewell, I mean, you can live with it. If Sewell's there, and so is Chase or maybe Parsons or Waddle, you can live with it, right? It's just there's so many different directions they could go. It just depends on how they value their own needs. In my opinion, my number 1 target at that pick would be either Chase or Sewell. Slater would be right there. Pitts obviously is probably be gone. But I go number one target would be Sewell or Chase. Then you probably follow up with Slater or Parsons. That kind of like 4 guys I would love to see them take there. Top 2 obviously would love it. Bottom 2 you can live with it, right? So that's my opinion, guys. And Fields is also in the conversation. I'm just talking more of an immediate day one playmaker, immediate day one difference maker kind of player. I don't think Fields will be that because you're not going to start him over Goff. So, guys, with all that being said, thank you for listening to this podcast. I'm extremely excited for the NFL draft. Probably be one more podcast for the draft. I don't think so, though. I'm going to try and keep it to the 25th episode reacting to the draft because I think that'd be cool, kind of a cool milestone, 25th episode. But, anything drastic happens, Lions trade back, I will be reacting to it, guys. I'll be on it. Any big rumors come out, I will be on it. Be sure to follow my Instagram at TMG_YouTube. I will be posting a 7-round mock draft on the day of the draft. So, probably won't be posting another one on YouTube until, I don't know, I'll probably wait till like Tuesday or Wednesday to see if there's any trades. But I'll release a mock draft the day of, probably on my Instagram. So, guys, if you're into that kind of stuff, be sure to follow. Thank you for listening again, and I'll see you in the next one. Next one will be a mock draft. It won't be a podcast this time, though. It'll be a straight-up mock draft. It might go longer than the other ones have because it's my final one, so I'm not going to make it a podcast because I want to see that 25th episode. I want to save that for the reaction to the Lions draft. So, guys, thank you for watching, listening, whatever you're doing right now. Be sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.